All right. Hello, hello, hello. And welcome to the Full Send Half Mast podcast, episode 5. We are the Dega Boys. My name's Jay.
I'm Tom.
And tonight we got an episode of race recaps. This weekend's race at Coda. We're also going to talk about a new entry in the Xfinity Series, a new team this weekend. We're also going to talk about the penalty appeals for Hendrick, Colleague, and Hamlin. Also going to talk about some extra topics throughout the weekend, some talking points. We'll go over the standings for the Cup Series, notables, leaders. We'll also got our driver of the week and bonehead of the week nominees, and we'll let you vote on that after the podcast tonight. So let's start off with Kyle Weatherman will be making a start in the number 96 FRS Racing. This is the team debut this weekend at Richmond, and it's a team that acquired the assets from Brandon Built Motorsports and will be making their first attempt. So we'll see how that goes for them. Also, the appeals have been announced for Wednesday, March 29th for Hendrick relating to the hood louvers, as well as Colleague Racing a week later on April 5th, same issue, and then Denny Hamlin on Thursday, April 6th.
Yeah. So I think Hendrick and Colleague is going to be some big news out of there. But I think Hamlin and his appeals deal, I think that's going to be like an episode of Judge Judy there. I think it's going to be quite comical to go and see what his team comes up with all the damning evidence that NASCAR has of him intentionally wrecking Chastain, or saying that he intentionally wrecked Chastain. So that's going to be very interesting. I think with the Hendrick and Colleague deal, it might be run of the mill. It might not be. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to speculate. But what do you think, Jay?
I think the Hamlin one, I think he's for sure guilty. I just don't see how he's going to win. I think he got to try to get those points back because we've seen how important they are as the season goes along. So I think that's probably the wing and prayer they have on that one. And then for the Hendrick one, I think that I think the fines will probably still stand just because NASCAR's greedy and they're going to want the money. But I think that the appeals panel is going to find them as the incident just seems fishy from the beginning. So I think they'll get their 100 points back. And this will basically save the Hendrick championship hopes right there. And they're going to get all their stage points and championship playoff points and everything back. But we'll find out Wednesday, March 29th. That's a couple days on the Hendrick one. And then after that, I feel like the Colleague one will be right along with that. And after that, I guess we'll just get straight into the truck race. This weekend, racing at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Just amazing racing. We got treated to just a barn burner of a race in the trucks. It really was a race between three trucks, Chastain, Busch, and Zane Smith. Zane Smith, the winner last year. Kyle Busch, always tough to beat in trucks. Chastain's tough to beat anywhere he goes. Chastain started on him and Busch kind of swapped the lead a little bit in the opening laps. Lap 8, Carson Hocevar. Take note of this because I'm going to mention it again later. Lap 8, turn 1, stuck in a gravel trap. Had a truck in the top 5, got in the corner. It looked like his brakes locked up, slid through the gravel, got stuck. Essentially ended his day. Then lap 11, just I guess the theme of the season has been just teammates running over teammates, just shenanigans out of certain organizations. And our good hero, Faylee Deegan over here, decided to full send her teammate Crafton. So we'll show that clip here. It's very interesting. All right, we'll let the footage roll. Well, this is a incident from later in the race, which is also a very greedy move on Deegan's part. I mean, we'll re-show it in a little bit, but we'll go back to the Crafton incident next. And that one's right here. I mean, tight racing, right? We're after a restart.
Of course, on a restart. We saw it all weekend.
But going through the S's, there turns 5, 6, 7. It's just too tight. And just no give. And she hops the curb.
I think.
And
Yeah,
just tags
I'd like to
Crafton.
rewind this. just a second here, and I want to show the line that she took through this corner right here. Let's see, she is right here. You can tell she's a little bit deeper than everybody else. She hits the curb, loses it, and right into her teammate.
I mean, just uncalled for. I mean, it's your teammate. You think you'd show your teammate a little bit more respect. We're a lap 11. It's a 46 lap race. I mean, you got lots of time to make your way through the field. She had a fast truck. Her teammates ran up front. It looked like she had a fast truck. She was top 10 early on in the race. And, just sent Crafton around right into the gravel trap, got stuck. And this DNF'd Crafton for the day. I don't know if he got rocks or anything in his car or anything like that caused it to cause problems, maybe overheating. I don't know. But
yeah,
after this,
and,
Crafton was
some
done.
of the things we saw later in the race, with drivetrain issues and stuff, it could have easily been something like that where, maybe some debris, hit on his drive shaft, or, he had some lower control arm, upper control arm issues, or something got bent. I mean, we don't really know. It was never said.
Yeah, never said, but I mean, it's a tough deal for Crafton. I mean, he shows the most respect out of anybody, and his teammate, the superstar, just takes him out completely. I mean,
and it damages her truck pretty good. I mean, it was no small hit to her vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, and as we showed with that clip with the honeycut, we precursored that one. We'll show that again here in a second, but we're gonna go through kind of the chronological order of this race. So, at this, Christian Eckes was on a different strategy. It looked like he had a pretty fast truck. It looked like he was a contender for sure. He ends up taking stage 1. And then later, as we've noted in our last week's podcast, there was no cautions for stage breaks. And there was also a restart choose cone on every restart during this race as well. So positioning was key. So after he wins stage 1, he ends up having a mechanical issue. They never really said specifically what it was, but he went to the garage after winning stage 1 and eliminated him from the race. And at this point, it really just narrowed it down to Busch and Chastain. They were just so far ahead of Zane Smith was keeping close enough contact, about 4 seconds back, but still they were far enough ahead. It was a 2-horse race. And then it just got interesting from there. Kyle Busch decides, Chastain ends up pitting, Zane Smith ends up pitting, and Kyle Busch decided to stay out to win stage 2. I mean, bonehead of the move of the week nominee here. He's not racing for points as driver points. I mean, owner's points, yes, but his crew chief was telling him that we need to pit here. This is vital for our strategy to make it to the end of the race. We're dominant truck. There's no reason to get off strategy with everybody to try to win a stage. We're not racing for points. And Kyle Busch took it upon himself to make the executive call to stay out. And this ultimately changed his race because Zane Smith and Chastain were able to pit right before Parker Kligerman, who, by the way, came from dead last to 4th by lap 27, just to have a mechanical issue, to bring out a caution. So this puts Busch in a very, very poor predicament. He's got to go to the back and drive his way back to the front. Luckily for him, Chastain was having fuel pump issues, so it took him out of contention. This really set the race up for Zane Smith to repeat, and that's exactly what happened. He was able to go on the rest of the race, and Kyle Busch drove back up to second, but he couldn't get within 5 seconds of Zane Smith at the end. Zane Smith ran a fantastic race, didn't make any mistakes, kept the truck on the track, ran consistent lap times, was able to hold on for the lead. But at the end of this race, as we saw that clip with Deegan and Honeycutt, just another blatantly boneheaded move by your superstar here. I don't know what Faylie Deegan was doing at all. I don't know. Maybe use your head a little bit more in these scenarios. I don't know. You could see for yourself. We'll let the tape run. As you can see, she's running 6th, right? She's running 6th. She's having
doing a great job.
Phenomenal race.
Here 5th.
And she's not even off strategy either. That's the thing. She was in this race.
This is. Let's just go back to the angle that she took going into this corner. I mean, just straight. What are you doing?
Yeah, just uncalled for. You got Honeycutt up here. He's a rookie. Look at the rookie stripes. This guy's running in the top 5, and I don't understand. She didn't take an appropriate line entrance into that corner. She was so narrow that even if she did make that corner, she was gonna kill all of her momentum coming off. The only way she was gonna make the corner was cooking it and running right into the side of him. And I feel like I don't know if she just misjudged her braking zone, but even then she was offline. So I mean, I don't know what she's thinking or what she's doing. She's on strategy with the leaders and she's running great. I don't understand.
I guess you could say, like, you know, she was maybe trying to let Honeycutt by or something like that. But then to go and completely blow that corner, I mean, just almost blatantly just blow the corner and make contact like that on a good race car. She was running really good. She was doing a great job.
Yeah.
And then it's, I don't know.
I mean, this is one of those races you look back on. If she continues on that strategy and doesn't make any mistakes, I mean, you look back at this race as a career-defining moment. A road course race, a racetrack that she might not have the strengths at road course racing. And she's got this thing in the top 10 on strategy with the leaders and just threw it away. Just threw it away. What are we doing? I mean, you got to take your lumps, you know? Like, a guy or two get by, you just let him go. This is why we label her a bust, is she just does not show racing technique. She doesn't show patience. She just doesn't have that it factor that you look for in a rising superstar. And she just overdid it right there. And that's why we're going to nominate her for the Bonehead of the Week later, or part of this podcast later on. I mean, do you have anything else to say about the truck race? I mean,
exciting. I mean, there was a lot of things happening. It might not have been as professional, but I mean, there was surely a lot of drama. There was surely a lot of action. There was a lot of craziness happening, and even some, I guess, inexperience by the broadcasting crew at the end of this race.
Oh yes.
I mean, I don't know if you want to touch on that before I go any further.
Yeah, I'll just touch on it real quick and then I'll let you go from there. So on the last lap of the race, turn 20, final turn, last lap, Ben Rhodes is running third place. He's got teammate Ty Majeski behind him. Comes through turn 20 and his car just breaks. Shot the drive shaft right out the back of the truck. And NASCAR proceeds, or the Fox broadcast, this isn't really NASCAR's fault, this is Fox's fault, turns away from the action with Ben Rhodes and shows Zane Smith doing burnouts in turn 1 while they're explaining it. With no context. And we're like sitting here just wondering what is going on. And they're not showing the running order, the finishing order, or nothing. It just, it blows my mind. I mean, you go from here.
Yeah, so Ben Rhodes comes out of the final corner and literally just yeets his drive shaft. Which, first off, let's talk about running an entire race and then having it on the last corner of a road course that's 3.5 miles long, and he slings the drive shaft out of it. I don't know what world we got to do to recreate, or we got to be in to recreate something like that. But holy crap! Like I don't know. That dude's lucky. First off, he finished the race. Right? What did he finish? 9th?
Yeah. 9th.
I mean, that's still good. That's still good.
It's wild.
He could have finished last on the lead lap. You know.
He just straight up projectile missiled his drive shaft out the rear end.
Yeah.
And Fox missed it. We got to see the
aftermath, so oh well. I you know, it's something I hope that they learn from. I think that would be the only thing you can ask for.
Okay. Our stream paused there for a second. That was weird. I don't know if they missed anything that you just said, but I heard it, so we'll let them decide if they heard that or not. From here we'll go straight to the Xfinity race. Again, I've been basically been bragging on the Xfinity series all season long. Best series in the world right now. Just super competitive. And we had another one of those just fantastic Xfinity races. Allmendinger starts on pole. Class of the field favorite. Everybody's watching Allmendinger. He leads the beginning of the race. And again, like I said, take note, Hocevar making his first career Xfinity Series start, wrecks in turn 1, lap 8. Identical to the truck race. Ends his race. It's like they got to rename this corner Hosafar Corner or something, because how the lap 8, turn 1, 2 races same day. I mean, the odds of that happening are just
iconic.
That's the perfect word for it. Just incredible. And so, yeah, I mean, and then after that, Hemrick runs into the side of Nemechek. This is the first of 2 incidents that Hemrick had with Nemechek. Hack champion, complete waste of talent. I mean, just running people over, no respect. Yeah, he did it on lap 1, and he also did it with 4 to go. I mean, it's just 2 different parts of the race that just, it's uncalled for.
Yeah.
Essentially, no really stage cautions in this race as well, which is perfect. It played out wonderfully. Allmendinger, he wins stage 1. But then we have a caution for incident somewhere before lap 20, before the lap 20 restart. Allmendinger had a terrible pit stop, goes to the back, gets spun by, or no, he was in the front. He gets spun by Almirola, who was staying out on old tires. That's where I was going with that. And this sends Allmendinger to the back. This is lap 20 of a 46-lap race, and it looks like his race is over. He just handed it to Creed and Byron, who were just having a phenomenal battle up front with Allmendinger. So now it turned into a race. Can Allmendinger get back up here? Can Allmendinger actually pull this out and win this race with that being that far back? You saw Chris Rice on the box. Just physically, you could see the anger in him. He's just pushing the pit box, just mad because he knows that Allmendinger's got the best car. So at this point, we got Creed and Byron just racing the races of their lives. It looks like Creed is about to be that superstar we saw in the Xfinity, or in the ARCA, we saw in the trucks. Just cannot get it done in the Xfinity. Just whatever can go wrong goes wrong for Creed. He ends up winning stage 2. Then we get a caution on lap 30 with Cole Custer getting spun by Josh Berry. Kind of the same incident as the Deegan. Like, there's just no respect in the S's. It's not a 2-lane part of the track. It's so narrow. You got to kind of give each other space and room, especially when you're battling for a top 5 position as they were. This ruined Custer's race. He's in the back on lap 30. There's just not enough time to come back from it from there. I mean, where Allmendinger spun and on lap 20, it gave him plenty of time to maybe mount a charge, depending on if the cautions fell right, which this one did perfectly for him. Got him back in a reasonable spot for a restart. And then it comes down to 14 to go, and AJ Allmendinger running behind Creed, and Byron right on his tail. I mean, you got the 3 best cars running up front. This is what you want, right? You want to see the best 3 cars duking it out. 14 to go in the race, and Allmendinger just made a terrible mistake. I mean, we'll let it play and we'll talk about it, but I'll let it play now, and we'll just let it play and we'll talk about it after it's done. This is just a good talking point here. So as we said, 14 to go.
Some good racing.
That's great racing.
Good racing.
It's great racing. That's what we saw all weekend with stuff like that. I mean, giving each other plenty of room through the big stadium section. And just contact.
Yikes.
And from this point on, Allmendinger and Byron battled a little bit for a lap or 2, but Allmendinger was able to pull ahead and take the win. It was his 11th road course win in the Xfinity Series. I think it was a 16th career win. So big moment for AJ. Big moment for colleague who's had a rough start to this season with luck. Some self-inflicted, mostly self-inflicted. But yeah, big win for colleague. Byron, second place. We knew he was going to be strong. But Creed, I mean, just a tough bummer for Creed. It's just like, is he going to figure it out? Is he going to finally put one of these races together? It seems like week after week he's there, and just anything that can go wrong goes wrong for this guy.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate because he sees the successes of his teammate, and his teammate connects all the dots, can get it done on a week in, week out basis, and then we got Creed, who's strong. It's not like he's not strong. He's a great driver. He has great equipment, but he's getting booted like this, and getting dealt bad hands, stuff that's sometimes doesn't even involve him, and he somehow gets wrapped up in it. So it's really unfortunate for Creed. But I'm no doubt he's gonna reach victory lane this year. And no doubt about that. I think he's gonna work his way up to be just like Austin.
Yeah, I mean the potential's through the roof with this guy. I mean, he just dominated the ARCA series, got the championship, dominated trucks, took the championship, gets to Xfinity, and it's like I don't know if he used up all his luck or what, but it's just everything that can possibly go wrong. It's Creed's one of those guys that if once he can win one of these things, he's gonna just have the confidence and he's gonna start knocking them off weekly. He's gonna become a championship favorite by the end of the season. He's got the speed, he's got the talent. It's just if these little things just quit happening to him, we're gonna see great things out of Creed. And again, and great race out of the Xfinity series.
We might just be looking at a Kyle Larson 2.0 here, where he gets his first win and then he's just on fire. I mean, you can't stop him.
Yeah, I mean, it could be very, very likely, very, very likely. Overall, great race. Like we saw with the Xfinity and the truck race, both themes, clean, competitive racing. You didn't have a lot of runoffs. You didn't have a lot of incidents. Really, all the incidents we showed were those clips. That's really the only incidents we had. In those two races, the best trucks cycle to the front at the end of the race. They put on a well of a show series. And ultimately, the guy that made the least amount of mistakes or played the right strategy ended up winning those races. And then, I mean, Allmendinger. I think it was more of a racing incident. I don't know if you agree with that or not. I think it was a racing incident between him and Creed. But Allmendinger, coming from the back to win this race, just incredible.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to say something like that. Because we all know Allmendinger had the dominant car, and we all know that Creed was just preventing the inevitable there. Yeah, you could say it's a racing incident. You could also say it's impatience by Allmendinger because he was going to get around him anyways. We might have just seen that drama play out in turn one instead of the carnage that was the second to last corner. I don't know. I don't really spend too much time on it, just because we all pretty much knew Allmendinger was going to win. So,
right, yeah, and we called it like we both called Zane Smith, Allmendinger. We called both those races correct. We predicted the winners last week. So, I mean, kudos to us making us look like geniuses. Congratulations to Zane Smith and AJ Allmendinger on wins this weekend. Now this brings us to the Cup race. Like I've been iterating again, we had the choose cone restarts, so giving the drivers more control over their destiny. You had the shortened restart zone, so took the advantage away that they thought was giving it to the leader, and now it put it back into everybody's hands, which is the way it should be. And then also no cautions for stage breaks. So going into this race, I knew it was a long race, and I knew it was going to be strategy. I didn't know what the strategies were going to be. I figured I had a feeling going into it, everybody's going to be on a 3-stop. That's not what we saw. So Byron starts on pole. I would say Byron and Reddick all weekend long just look like the two guys to beat. Qualifying just blistered the field. Practice or just blistering the field. Bulls start on the front row. Lap one shenanigans. I don't know exactly what happened, but Ty Dillon and Jimmy Johnson get collected. Brad Keselowski, Buscher, and Todd Gilliland all involved. This took Jimmy Johnson out lap one. Picks this race as one of his 5 races to run this year. And, I mean, I hope you weren't holding your breath. I warned you, because 84th win is not happening. At least not this weekend it didn't.
No, I what else do you expect? I mean, really. With the aggression that we were seeing, we really expecting some back markers fighting for 30th and wrecking not a possibility? I don't know. I fully expected it. It was gonna happen, and it doesn't surprise me it was Jimmy Johnson. I mean, it's just
the reign of dominance always comes to an end. Sorry, Jimmy Johnson fans. It just is what it is. So at this point, nobody decides to pit. I mean, we're one lap in the race, so we get a restart. Ran green from here on out. Reddick took the lead, just kind of took off on the 5 or so Chevys that were competitive with him all day. Lap 9. I mean, we got a clip for you. This is wild. We'll just let it play. We'll talk about it. Just
that reminds me a lot of another driver we just got done talking about.
Charlotte Roval, 2017, 2018. Yes, 100%. And if you're thinking at all, when you see this, the first thing that comes to my mind initially and now is that's a brake issue, right? That's an absolute brake issue. No, turns out it wasn't. Turns out Bubba just made a complete rookie mistake. And then he goes into his post-race interview and he says, I mean, I'm 2 weeks in a row, make a rookie mistake, 6 years in the Cup. I need to be replaced. I mean, if you're management at 2311, you're hearing this, and you're like, all right, who are we calling? Because this guy obviously has given up on himself. He's given up on the team. Austin Hill. Austin Hill, you might just have a job coming up, bud. I mean, who says this? Have you ever heard a driver get out of a race car and demanding to be fired? Like, he has the dream job and he wants to be fired? Canned? What?
Yikes. I don't. Why? First off, why? Second off, if you don't have anything to say other than an apology to maybe the 5 car, 43 car, just be quiet. I mean, you ruined these people's days, right? You ruined a chance for these other people to get some points, and we know the 5 car's struggling, but he goes out and then he says, just fire me at 2 weeks and I'm a rookie. And I think what really got me was the nonchalant way that he said that. And it's, to me, it just makes it seem like he's whatever. I don't care. Whatever. I'm still gonna have a job. You know, I've got people behind me, and it's just, I don't know. I felt like that was really disrespectful to the people that he took out.
Yeah, very disrespectful. And I mean, like I said, my initial thoughts seeing this live, I didn't think much of it. I saw it happen. I just figured brakes went out. I mean, it looks like a typical brakes just went to the floor and bombed the corner. I mean, he doesn't say those comments. Everybody's thinking it. I mean, unless everybody's got the same data that these teams have, nobody's going to know the wiser. The people at home aren't going to know the wiser. I mean, just the fact that you would say that is just, it just shows like you said, lack of respect for your competitors, lack of respect for your team owners, your sponsors. Like, I mean, if you're a McDonald's exec right now and you hear that, you're like, well, if he's given up, why should I be invested in him? Why don't I just give up?
And that's the biggest point right there. He basically just gave up. And so he's put in the effort to try, but since he's had these 2 on-track incidents in the past 2 weeks, it just made it look like he gave up. The nonchalant way he said it, the word choice he had, and then basically just saying, you know, I give up, hire somebody else. Who does that? Yeah. Nobody does that even in their normal job. You know, and
right.
This could be some schmuck at McDonald's. Well, maybe not. I mean, if I worked at McDonald's, I'd say screw this. But you know, but what I'm saying is, like, it's not normal. It's not normal.
Yeah, it's just, that's not workplace.
Especially if you're making the money he's making. I mean, I'll take it. I'll take like a PR position or something.
Yeah,
give me a chair and some AC and a headset. I'll make it look.
Yeah. That's, I mean, yeah. So, fun talking point. At this point, it changed the race. This is when strategy finally kicked in. Tyler Reddick, I don't know if this was their plan from the beginning or if this was at the spur of moment, but lap 13, he comes down pit lane. Nobody else really followed him. Now, at least nobody of contention followed him. So this puts him on a different strategy. All the rest of the guys, all the Chevy guys, Byron, Bowman, Suarez, Chastain, Busch, the other 5 Chevys that were competitive with him, they all decide to stay out, and they're going to stretch this thing to lap 24 was the magical number to make it on a 2-stop. So that's what they all did. The Chevys decide we're going to go 2-stop on this one. At this lap 4, that's when you see the Chevys come in. This is after stage 1, which Byron ends up winning because he was hands down the second best car all day. We get into that next stage. Reddick is pitted on lap 13. He's on the 3-stop, so he's going to stretch it 24 laps to get his optimal number. And they're mathing it out, and he's going to be 6 laps short at the end of this race. If it goes green all the way, 6 laps short. But he's running just lap times on older tires compared to these guys that just pitted that are just equaling or a little better than them on fresher tires. It was just so impressive to see. Win stage 2, and at this point, it's like, do we just put our tail between our legs and kind of just give up on this 3-stop strategy and try to get back on sequence of the leaders? And that's ultimately what they did. Lap 39, they made their pit stop, and came back out like in 9th with only like 6 seconds behind Byron. So in extra time, he only lost 6 seconds to Byron. It was insane the pace that he had in that car. Then he drove all the way back to the lead by lap 41. That's when the caution comes out for debris. And at this point, there's our first set of strategy thrown out the window. Now the Reddick Byron strategy compromise, that got thrown out the window. Now everybody's going to pit. Everybody's back on an even strategy. So it really kind of ended that. Everybody comes to pit road, restart with 12 to go, or restart on with like 25-ish to go. You got Bowman in 4th. You got Chastain in 3rd. Reddick and Byron are 1, 2. Not sure the exact order, but they're kind of just setting a pace. They're gone from the pack. They're just checked out. And now you start hearing rumblings from these crew chiefs and spotters. We're running low on fuel. Like, I don't know if we're going to make it to the end of this race on fuel. It was they were 2-3 laps short, some of those guys, and their pace wasn't slowing down. They were not saving. At this point, you saw Bowman dip completely out. He's like, I'm going to go full save mode. They're telling him he's 2 laps short, and he's in full save mode. Suarez runs up there. He's full flying, comes back, catches the lead group. He's running with them, trying to run them out of fuel because they're telling him he's good on fuel. And so this race is just amping up. You're like, what is happening? Who's going to run out? This is going to get wild. I mean,
yeah, I think it was going to be an amazing finish with that caution at the end there. And what you said, what we were seeing with the Trackhouse cars was the engineers telling them that, hey, you guys are good. Like, push it. Push them. Make them burn that gas so they have to pit. And so, we saw Suarez, we saw Chastain up there putting some pressure on Byron and Reddick to keep moving forward. And that all went down the drain.
It all went down the drain. So 2 awesome strategy opportunities thrown out the drain with a caution with 20 to go. At this point, you had a mixed strategy. You're going to get a restart with about 12 to go. And you have Christopher Bell, you have Kyle Busch, both on differing strategy, not super old tires, but a differing strategy yet alone. And then you got Raikkonen, Hamlin, and Priest. These guys had all committed track violation penalties early in the race. I think there was like 9 in total during this race. Yeah. Guys that going off course, cutting course. These guys both of them had double penalties, had to make pit stops, and so essentially they get back in the lead with 1 lap old tires and cycle to the front. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, you've got to be the luckiest person ever to commit a penalty, be able to pit, not lose a lap, and then cycle to the lead on a caution. Like, the odds of that happening are just astronomical for that to work out. But it didn't ultimately work out. Reddick just, I don't know, going into turn 1, this dude could break like 20, 30 feet further than everybody else and still make the corner. It was just phenomenal what his car could do. He gets the lead back, and the race is looking over, right? Nope. Caution with like 4 to go. This starts the sequence of NASCAR overtime. 3 different overtimes and 3 opportunities for absolute carnage. Everybody just running through each other, bulldozing into turn 1, bulldozing each other in the S's. Just no respect at all. It was almost like watching a demolition derby. They ran great all day. I mean, yeah, Keselowski, every time they show him, he's backwards in the grass somewhere. Blaney, he's backwards in the grass somewhere. You got Hamlin around, Bell around. You got all these guys that just looking like clowns out here.
Yeah.
And
let's talk about some bad luck though with that 12 car. I honestly thought he had a top 10, top 15 car for most of that race, and he'd be getting spun. Or on these restarts, he'd just get absolutely clobbered. Or, still, Team Penske producing dump trucks as race cars, and I think that a top 10, top 15 car with these Penske drivers, then they're doing a great job. But that's just my little tidbit on Blaney. I think that where he finished was not a good representation of where his car could have been because of others' actions.
Yeah, it was just a mess all day. Like I said, the Xfinity race, it was amazing. You just didn't have those types of runoffs. You didn't have that many pass-through penalties. You didn't have the mistakes or people really running over each other. You had a few here and there, but that's typical of any race. You're going to have contact or incidents every race, but it wasn't nothing out of the ordinary. You get to the Cup race and these guys are looking like rookies. It's like they were all ARCA drivers. It was insane. Yeah. There's just no respect at all. But any of them. You got teammates. You got Chastain and Suarez getting into it. You get Truex getting sent around. You got guys 10 rows back shoving guys up in the front into mayhem, and it's just it turned into survival, and it was like you either had to dump somebody or you were getting dumped, and it was just the guys that were willing to dump people or were the ones that moved up, and that's what it ultimately turned into. You have post race Kimi Räikkönen, Jenson Button, Jordan Taylor. None of them ran great, but that's just part of the new product of racing. Not very much experience. And then they get into this and they're like, what happened? Like they're just like, I've got beat to death out there. And like, I did not expect that. They're worn out. They're bruised up. They're just like waving the white flag. Like, what are we doing out here?
Jordan said that he was hit more times in that race than he has been hit his entire career. And if that doesn't say something, then I don't know what would change your mind about that. And yeah, we had lots of drivers coming in to this race from IMSA, from Formula One, IndyCar, saying the same thing. This is just the product of what was created by this track and what we saw. Exciting for some, disappointing for others.
Right. It just puts a damper on the race because for the majority, 90% of it, until we got to the NASCAR overtime phase of this race, it was a phenomenal race. You had the best cars running up front, setting blistering speed. You had great strategy, and natural cautions really kind of took the strategy away, and it turned into what it ultimately turned into. And Tyler Reddick, best car all day, he was able to prevail, and he got the dub. And we've seen this all year. The best car has won every race minus the Daytona 500. If you look back at every race so far, the best car that weekend has won minus Daytona 500. You have just carnage. And the best part about it, I just want to talk about Kurt Busch for a second in the broadcast booth. He was just fantastic at the booth. He had every display of emotion. He went from the highs of the highs to excitement to the lows of the lows. And on the final lap, he ends up saying, I guess that we have a clip, right? You have a clip of what Kurt Busch said on the last lap?
Yes, I do.
Essentially he drove the 45 car last year. It was the inaugural season for them to run two cars of 2311. Brought Monster over with him, kind of built this team, and this seeing Reddick win this race meant a lot to Kurt. And do you have the volume all the way up on that? Because it might be difficult to hear. This is something that is this you'll feel it when we play it. So we'll let it run, and we'll see what your guys' reaction to it is. Yeah, we're not getting any volume on it, but we'll just summarize it. Last lap of the race, he gets really emotional and says, "Man, I just love racing with these guys. Man, I wish I could have been in that car. I wish to have been back, but this car's in great hands." And he was tearing up. And listening to it live, I didn't think much of it. I was kind of focused on the race that was happening there still for the second spot between the rest of the field, essentially, because Reddick had drove away. But watching it back, it made me kind of emotional hearing it, because it just sucks that his career got ended short for a concussion. What happened to Dell Jr., and it just seems like concussions anymore are just ruining drivers' careers, and it was a very, very emotional moment. I mean, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I've always been a Kurt Busch fan. Always have been, especially his very hard days through the end times at Penske. I kind of picked him up because I saw that how much he was struggling with himself, how much he loved racing, and how much he actually cared. Some people might take this Kurt Busch has got an attitude deal as just being a jerk, I guess. But what I saw was just a fiery passion for racing, and I could connect with that, and that's why I've always, or since that moment, I was a Kurt Busch fan. So seeing him go from the 22 car, the 2 car to the 22 car to the 51 car to the 78 car to the 41 car to the 1 car. I mean, it was really cool to actually see who Kurt Busch really was. And through those years since 2012, or 2011, you saw Kurt Busch change from the most hated driver in the sport to the most liked driver in the sport. I mean, I apologize, I couldn't get a video of this last lap with Kurt Busch being emotional for 2311, but you guys need to watch it. I mean, it really just shows the true passion that this guy has for racing, for driving, for being there for a team, for even, being a commentator for these races. One of the most passionate guys in the paddock, has always been. People have labeled him differently because of his outbursts. I never saw it that way. I've always been a Kurt Busch fan for his passion, his outbursts. I was a fan for as well because it always created great drama in the background. But it's heart-wrenching, honestly. It really is. And a lot can be contributed to NASCAR's failure to create a car capable for these drivers, because he truly was knocked out of competition for the rest of his life because he backed into a wall. And we're lucky we didn't see that out at Bowman as well with his Texas wreck, because it could have easily been the same situation.
Right. Yeah, it's just Kurt Busch is a legend of the sport, future Hall of Famer, generational talent. I mean, everywhere he ever went, he found a way to get to victory lane. I mean, except for James Finch and
he was so close with the 51 car at Sonoma, and then with Furniture Row, I think he finished second like 3 times.
Yeah, just so.
I mean, and then he finally got it with Stuart Haas at Martinsville. By the way, his most hated track. He hates that place. But actually, I did get this audio
working. All right, we'll play this. I mean, this is just this is a moment in sports history right here.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Amazing, 2311, and how fast we're growing and how much we're doing together. It's forward together on this program, and it brings me a little bit to be choked up. I was hoping to be back in that car, but it's in good hands, and it's a great team, and I love racing with those guys.
Yeah, just
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I felt that like right in my heart, man. That was true emotion right there. That
is a man of passion.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. This dude, he loves the sport. I mean, I remember watching truck races last year, him in the booth for every truck race, and it was just he is a phenomenal race broadcaster. I mean, if he never gets behind the wheel of a race car again, which I hope he does one more time. I think there's a possibility it could happen. It just would have to be the right scenario and the right track. But I would love to see him one more time. But if not, this guy needs to be hired by Fox or NBC. I mean, shoot, ESPN could hire him for the SRX races. I mean, this guy is a phenomenal race broadcaster. He's so insightful. He's got a mix of everything. I mean, the best quote of the weekend. When they were making their pit stops, he's like, "This pit road's about to be busier than a McDonald's drive-through." I was rolling in my chair watching this race. It was the best, and everybody in the booths was just like silent because they didn't know what to say. It was just awesome. It was a great moment. I mean, unless you got anything else to say about Kurt Busch, I mean, I feel like we really got to see another side of Kurt that a lot of people probably haven't seen or really cared to pay attention to.
Yeah, I just want to echo kind of what you said. Just future Hall of Famer. We're lucky to have him in the sport. We're lucky to have both the Bushes, whether you like it or not. The younger brother is a great ambassador for the sport. Older brother is also a great ambassador for the sport. Both Hall of Famers. We're just lucky. We're lucky to have them.
Yeah. And it brings me back to the whole Bubba situation. You got the guys like Kurt Busch that put their life and soul into this, and then you got Bubba just quitting on everybody.
Almost crying during a broadcast, and then we've got a toddler fit going on outside the care center saying, "I just need to be replaced." I mean, it's again uncalled for.
Yeah, I agree. I guess the only other things to mention here is, I mean, just we had great racing. I mean, everybody was kind of skeptical or wanted to see how it was going to play out without cautions for stage breaks, but I think it was wonderful. I mean, it really didn't make a big of an impact because all the cautions seemed to fall on stage ends anyway, or at least most are around them for the most part. So natural cautions really kind of played out as a stage race. You didn't have to have the extra caution because you end up getting them anyway. So I would love to see it tried at least at one oval, maybe once this year. I mean, maybe before the playoffs because I know you can't do it in the playoffs, but maybe like Pocono. Pocono would be the perfect track to try this on. It's a fuel strategy oval, and let's try it. Let's try it at Pocono. If it works in a success at Pocono, let's try to implement it more often next year. Like you said last week, let's try small and build on it. And I think I'd love to see more of it.
Yep, I agree. I think that's the next step now. I mean, we've pretty much proven it works on road courses. Let's try it on an oval.
Yep, I agree. I guess the last thing that really happened in this race, I kind of hinted on it, the Bowman, Suarez, Chastain controversy at the end of that race. Suarez was just, just the racing, the restarts there at the end. I think Bowman got into him, cleaned out Truex, cleaned out Suarez. But, I mean, you have Chastain behind the 48 pushing him. You have someone 2 or 3 cars behind Chastain getting pushed into Bowman, into Suarez. It's just a chain reaction, right? And Suarez was just very upset. He ended up driving all the way through the field to the end, slammed into Bowman in the pit road. I mean, this is going to easily be a penalty. If you haven't seen it, he just straight up drove through him, spun Chastain getting onto pit road, and then has altercations with him on pit road. I mean, your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think it's quite disappointing. Actually, I don't think we've ever really seen this out of Suarez. I could be wrong, but I don't remember a time where Suarez was that. He was like a guided missile going through that field, going into the pits. You had officials standing at the entrance of pit road going like this to tell him to slow down. And he just completely ignores them, goes onto pit lane, and continues to shove Bowman. And it wasn't even Bowman's fault. It wasn't even Chastain's fault. If you really, really, really want to get down to it, it was Chase Briscoe pushing all those cars through turn 1 and causing this complete monstrosity of what we called a turn 1. I mean, this is a classic case of a driver getting out of a car, being so hot-headed, not looking at the photo or the video footage, and just starting doing this, pointing fingers, and really, who looks like the bigger bonehead than Briscoe himself is Suarez, because he just went out guns a-blazing, and it wasn't right. It wasn't right.
And you made a good point to me too when we were off the air before we started. Chastain's comments when he spun earlier in one of those restarts, and he basically just said, I'm just gonna get it started back up. It is what it is. I'm just gonna see if I can race it back to the front. That's like the mentality we've seen out of Logano in the past, where he doesn't really take things to heart. He just goes and gets more later on. He'll dump you back if he has to, if that's really what it comes down to. And then you guys got like Suarez here just lingering. And then like we've seen it with Kyle Busch in the past. And Denny Hamlin. That's why Denny Hamlin's never won a championship. This guy just can't let anything go. I mean, it's just two mentalities, I guess.
I think Daniel Suarez ran a faster lap on that cool down lap than he did all race. And that's saying something, because who knows what he could have done in the right mentality. He let himself get into a mentality where everybody was out to get him, and he was on a defensive drive instead of, I got spun. Let's try to make the best out of it. Let's try to make the best that we can out of this car with me as a driver, and all the tools that I have. But instead of doing that, we got a little toddler fit with a guided missile going through all the cars on a cooldown lap, with officials literally waving at this guy to slow down to just continue to push Bowman through pit lane. And again, it just, the real clown, the real bonehead that we see here during this altercation is Suarez. It's not even Briscoe.
No, it's the way that you react to situations speaks volumes. And with that being said, congratulations, Tyler Reddick, the 45 team. You called it. You said once he wins one, it's going to be something special. So I think Reddick's going to be something special from here on out. I'm pretty excited to see where this goes.
I'm really excited what he can do in that 45 seat.
Yeah. Point standings. After this race, we got a new points leader. Chastain's back at the top with 211. Kyle Busch is 19 back in second. Logano's 25 back, as well as Harvick being 25 back and tied for third. And then Christopher Bell, he's 27 back in fifth. Notables.
Great job.
Yeah, great job. As far, we'll have to see with the Hendrick thing. Like I said, I think they're going to get their points back. So these are probably going to be relative to change. We just have to find out. Maybe they won't get them back. So we'll see. Notables. Corey LaJoie, still in the top 16 in points. He's running 15th in points, 13 plus to the cut line. Is it out of a realm of possibility that he can make the playoffs this year?
Nothing's impossible.
Yeah,
nothing. Especially with how strong that Spire Motorsports team has been in the previous years as well. They might not have speed at one track, but they'll definitely come back to another track and have that top 10, top 15 speed. And sometimes that's all you need. And then you get a little bit of luck. Man, you'll get a sixth place, you'll get a fourth place. Second place. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I think it's absolutely possible with Corey LaJoie behind that wheel. Great job. He can.
Yeah, I would love to see it. I think, because I don't think we're going to have 16 winners like we did last year. I think this year probably around the 10, 11 mark like it normally is. And that means 5 guys are getting in on points. And right now, LaJoie has been super consistent. So we'll see where it builds on here. Also, Micah McDowell. No stranger to the playoffs. He's running 17th right now, only 14 behind the cutoff line. So, his possibility of making the playoffs are good. And there's a lot of good tracks coming up for him coming down this stretch.
We got plenty of road courses coming up. That's obviously his strong suit. Don't count him out. He had a fantastic finish here at COTA. We can expect that at Chicago, at Watkins Glen, at Sonoma. We can expect that out of him. We can expect a win out of him. He was so strong this weekend, and we've only raced at this track, three times? This was the third time? And so he's got a lot of other tracks with a lot more experience, and he's going to go there. He's going to turn some heads, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. So watch out for McDowell. That's an interesting cut line right there with LaJoie and McDowell. Another notable, Kyle Larson. Right now he's sitting in 27th, 69 points below the cut line right now. This is a deep hole. This is like multiple races to climb out of this hole. And it doesn't help with the incident at COTA this weekend. It really didn't help one bit. It just kind of hurt him essentially because he got no stage points and got a terrible finish out of it. I mean, you said you think Larson will still win a race. I agree. I think he's very capable of winning a race. It's just the luck right now is not on his side, and then you have that 100-point penalty on top of it, and it really just amplifies things. So, I mean, we'll see where the appeal goes, and we'll see if they win or lose. I mean, Larson's still going to have to find some consistency because you can't win a championship not running up front and getting those stage points. So, yeah, so that's a notable right there. And with that being said, we're going to go to the Driver of the Week segment that we do every week. We'll put the poll up after the podcast. Currently, we have nominated Ty Majeski. He finished P3 in the truck race in a Thor Sport car. Just great race. I mean, he didn't make any mistakes. They ran a strategy with the leaders, and they were able to maintain a close enough gap. And not known for his road racing. He's an iRacer, right? He's a short track guy.
iRacer, yep.
And yeah, just an impressive run by Majeski. Second, you got to take AJ Allmendinger winning the Xfinity race. I mean, you had the incident with Creed. We can kind of overlook that a little bit, but I mean, he was in the back of this field with like 20 something to go, and I mean, I texted you and we both agreed that it was over for Dinger. He was just not going to be able to recover. And
yeah.
Not only did he take the lead and win, he got it with 14 to go. He did it in like 11 laps. Like,
yeah, I think more about the Driver of the Week with Dinger is the fact that he came from the back to the front rather than just getting the win, because that right there is just a monumental task that he achieved and soared with it. I mean, it awesome job by that. He did a great job that race, and it wasn't primarily because of the win, in my opinion. It's just about the comeback. Right.
And then you have to mention Todd Gillen finishing 10th in the Cup race. He's kind of overlooked as really not that competitive, but I mean, you see him up front in all these road course races. You saw it last year at the Indy Road Course. He got a top 3 finish there. He's a very underrated road course race driver, and I think that if he had better equipment, I think he would run up front a lot more often in these. And also, to take note, 2021 he won the truck race at Circuit of the Americas. So that was a great run for him, especially being caught up in that lap 1 accident. I mean, his race could have been done. They could have just given up at that point, but they persevered and survived all the chaos at the end and got a top 10. So good drive by Gillen.
Yeah, it was a great race for Front Row Motorsports.
Yeah, I think we could probably just chalk this up to full Front Row Motorsports cars for this one. For the Driver of the Week. And then for the Bonehead of the Week, we got the 3 nominees that we have right now. We have Kyle Busch making an executive decision to take himself completely out of the win for the truck race. I mean, what are you doing? You're not running for points. Like,
go for the win.
Go for the win. That's why you're there, right? Is to win the race, and you handed it over to Zane Smith, a guy that needed stage points, really, because he's racing for the championship. He forwent the stage win to be on the winning strategy, and Kyle Busch not in the complete opposite scenario. He made the bad call. His crew chief was mad, but I mean, I guess that's what happens when your boss is the guy behind the wheel. What are you gonna do? You gotta do what the boss wants to do.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
So definitely, that was Kyle Busch blowing that race for sure. He had it won. I mean, he was lights out in that race and just blew it. So I think after that, you got to put Haley Deegan just bulldozing Matt Kraft and her teammate. I mean, I guess this wouldn't be as bad as if it didn't take out Crafton and completely eliminated his race. Not even just in the back, but he got a DNF out of this. And it's just one of those scenarios that you're just being over aggressive, and then you stack on top of that the Honeycutt incident when she's running top 6 on the leader strategy. Yeah, I mean, just throw your race away.
Yep, it wasn't just Crafton. It was Honeycutt, Racecraft, etc., etc.
Yeah, just a bunch of stuff that she needs to work on, and I mean, and this is her do or die season, like we said last week. This is her do or die. I mean, she doesn't make it this year, or doesn't at least show that she can run up front in these races and get some top fives, I mean, she's going to have a long career in NASCAR regardless of the results. I mean, she's got the back. And kind of like what I said with Bubba, there's just people lined up to throw money at her to be in that car or in that truck. So, but being successful, I mean, that's a whole nother story right there. So, I guess that's what we got to say about that. And then Bubba, KOing Larson. I didn't even have this on my list until last night when I started listening to some more of those interviews from him and realizing that it was driver error. I mean, it looks like he brakes like 100 yards too late for the corner, overcooks it, drives through Larson, and then doesn't care and just basically tells his team, "Yeah, I mean, I quit. You can fire me. I don't care." I mean, it's just a bad look for him, his team, his owner, his sponsors. I mean, I don't know what's going on.
And then in the same race, the guy who was employed by 2311, who's helping broadcast the race, almost cries on stream because of how proud he is of Tyler Reddick getting that dubs.
Right. And I feel like that ultimately puts it on this list. It just, that amplified the whole situation right there at the end. So we'll put these polls up at the end of the podcast. We have some great options. I kind of want to see what your guys' feedback is. And with that being said, if you guys would like to like, comment, and subscribe on our content, we're hoping to make as much content as we can here in the near future. This channel's growing, and we really love your feedback, positive, negative, whatever it is. We want to hear it. Just keep interacting in our community polls.
Yep, and make sure you guys tune into the channel. We might have really cool, exciting things coming up, where you guys will be seeing us probably taking a different in some other capacity. So make sure you guys tune in for that. Like Jay said, like, comment, subscribe, take part of our polls that we put up at the end of the podcast. And anything else?
I mean, that's it. I mean, I just like Tom said, just stay tuned to the channel. We got some really exciting news. We're just trying to dabble in some different things, and we really want to see this channel grow, and we've got some things in the works, and I think it's gonna be very, very awesome. I think you guys are really gonna enjoy it. And with that being said, I mean, I hope you enjoy our takes, our rants. I mean, we're kind of all over the place with this podcast, but we'll be back on Thursday. We got race previews we got IndyCar, Trucks, Cup, Xfinity, and Formula One, all in 3 different racetracks this weekend. Just exciting racing all weekend long coming up, so we can't wait to preview that for you and give you our predictions, dark horses, and what to expect. Any more news that comes out, especially with the Hendrick appeal, if we hear anything from that, we'll update you again on Thursday. And with that being said, we'll catch you on Thursday for episode 6. But for now, this has been episode 5 of the Full Send Half Mast podcast. We're the Dega Boys. My name is Jay.
I'm Tom.
And thanks for watching, and have a great night.
See you guys.
Peace.